What's up? This is Brad with Be Real. I have a very special guest with us today. She's come back. First, a little business, please. These videos are posted all over Spotify. They're on YouTube. Please go to my YouTube and subscribe. And there's also a way to get in contact with me. It's called BeRealWithBrad.com. If you want to discuss anything, if it's personal, if it's business, if it's increasing sales, if it's growing business, anything at all that you would like to talk to me about, that's the easiest way to get in touch with me. Be Real with Brad. Bam! All right.
Cut. We got to cut this.
Why?
Because this isn't your podcast today.
Oh, my God, you're freaking
This is
me out.
mine.
I haven't even introduced you yet.
You did. You said you had a special guest, but you're on my show today because you have people on your show, but today's my show.
Oh, my gosh. See, this can I just go ahead and finish? I didn't even get to this part yet. So you see, I have no papers. I have no idea what's about to happen. She won't give me any papers. She won't tell me anything. So I'm breathing, and I'm going to stay calm. And let me introduce Amber Woessner, my beautiful...
No, thank you, Brad, for coming on my show today. Can everybody give Brad a round of applause? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you coming on. We know you're busy. And just thank you. Thank you. There's going to be a lot of people that want to watch this because of you.
Because of you.
No, I thought because you always ask people questions and you have people on and then you have ones by yourself, I thought, well, let's turn the tables and ask you questions and do this for you. It'll be about us and
Okay.
We'll have our talk.
All right.
But
I'm digging it.
I'm kind of a independent woman that likes to take charge of things, and so.
Do you really feel like you need to tell people that?
I mean,
anybody that knows you pretty much. But anyway, please proceed.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
You're welcome.
Amber.
Thank you for being here.
It's an honor to be here.
Today, I'm trying to figure out what to talk about, and so I talked to a few friends. One of my really good friends came up with this. She said, "You guys need to talk about how the last 7 months you have handled it with grace."
Okay.
And I know we've shared a little bit with some close friends about what's happened the last 7 months. You've vaguely spoken about it with people, but I thought we'd kind of give more. There's some details. We don't tell everything, but other than that, we're gonna put it all out because she said we've handled the last 7 months with grace. And she gave me a one-liner that was amazing. And she said, "You guys have pivoted through the storm." We've talked about going through the storms of life and the natural disasters and everything that storms can bring. But this is one that was unexpected, right?
Yep.
Shocked, floored, distressed. I mean, caused every emotion possible for us. But coming through the other side of it, 7 months later, I think we can play it back through in our heads now and see how it was for the better, how it's changed us, how it affected us, and what we did to get through it with grace. And one of the words she used that really spoke to me was pivoting. And I thought of basketball. You get the ball. We were at a nephew's basketball game this weekend. You get the ball and you pivot and you move around to see the best person you can pass it to. What's the best play? And I think we've really done a good job of that the last 7 months, looking for the best play. Can you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I've told the story a little bit before. Do you want to tell the story from your perspective since it's your podcast?
Yeah.
About what started this 7.5 months or 7 months ago? You give it from your perspective.
So, and you can get in anytime you want to interrupt me.
No, I want them to hear your version.
This is your story too, so it's not just mine, it's ours. But 7 months ago, I get a phone call from Brad, and it's not a phone call you would expect. After being with the company for 34 years, amazing company, they said, we're moving in another direction. So I felt like we had been hit by a train out of nowhere. Didn't see that coming. But again, we had to pivot and figure out our next move. And something we were able to do with that was we had already had a trip planned and paid for a month in California.
Correct.
And our next discussion was, what do we do? And I think we mutually agreed, let's get away. When are we ever going to have this chance again to go for 30 days to California? And so we packed up 3 days after being let go, and we went to California, right?
Right.
So from my side of it, one of the things I had to do in this transition, first of all, was pray. I prayed for patience, the right words to say to you, because I could not even imagine all the emotions going through your head. But also to keep you at peace and keep your self-worth and your self-value, and so that you weren't anxious about our future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when I called her, after this was told that they were going another direction, I had to call her on the turnpike from Oklahoma City to tell her. And one of the big things I remember was, because I do put a lot of pressure on myself. So one of the big things that I did communicate was, hey, I've got something to tell you. It is terrible news. I'm not joking. And whatever you do, I cannot have you worry.
And you made me pull over because I was driving.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And so, but the biggest thing was that we just got hit with a storm. And obviously it is very important for me, for her, to be at peace. And I've been providing for my family my whole life. And so, but also I put a lot of pressure on myself. And so, but in the same time, I didn't want her to worry, because if I saw her worried or her stressed or her freaked out, that it would absolutely crush me. It would be worse than the company telling me they're going another direction, as I knew it was going to impact my family. I say all the time, do whatever you want to me, whatever happens, happens. But when you start jacking with my family, you're going to see a whole nother brat. So that was the biggest thing I wanted to tell her is I know this is hard. I got to wait before I get home, but whatever happens, please don't worry. Please don't stress. And I mean, she's just been a champion. In fact, she's probably handled the whole thing better than I have. So anyway, so that's that part of the deal.
So we go to California. We say, what the heck? We go. We have the most amazing time for 30 days.
Yep.
We realize not a lot of people get that opportunity. Not a lot of people get the chance just to go for 30 days, not working and not worrying about anything. And we had that, which, one, amazing family time.
Yes.
Amazing time for you and I to get together, to get away from everything and reflect on everything that had just happened, but figure out what our next move was, where to pivot, what our next pass was, what our next play was. And out in California, we decided, you have some skills, a special set of skills. And why not use them and put them towards something? Because the job you left was extremely stressful.
Yes.
It was all-time consuming. You were constantly on your phone. We looked back at pictures from our daughter's 2-year birthday party, and what were you doing in the pictures?
Well, the whole family was singing happy birthday to my 2-year-old.
Oh, in the video.
On the video. And she panned across the room, and I was sitting at the bar probably on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and I was emailing somebody back trying to save a deal while they're singing happy birthday to my 2-year-old. So it was definitely all consuming, and, it is what it is. It comes with the territory on high profile, high stress, high paying jobs, that there is another side of that deal, which is it is all consuming. That's the word we came up with.
You let it consume you. You let it take over.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Yeah.
It came before everything else.
Okay, now maybe that's not pushing it. But
from my perspective, it did. So,
okay, all right. Thanks for sharing.
Okay. So we had our amazing family time. We decided that our next move would be, let's do this consulting, because you're really good at selling. You're really good at relationships. You're really good at business and helping others. You enjoy helping others. That's your main goal.
Correct.
And so, other than our time together, we got the ball rolling for that. And I feel like we came back really refreshed. We had a new vision, a new outlook, and we also had a new Brad.
Yeah. That was one thing. Avery hugged me and said after a couple of months of this transition, this pivot, she hugged me and said that she was glad to meet this Brad. She'd never met this Brad. And the deal in California was we didn't know how much of this would end up materializing. This is my perspective on the deal. We didn't know how much of this would materialize or how much of this we would actually be able to get off the ground. But looking back at it, us keeping our heads busy on something moving forward was extremely helpful. And there was a gray area time where we didn't know what was going to happen after they decided they were going to go another direction. So there would have been, if we would have stayed here, there would have been 2 or 3 weeks of us just sitting staring at our floor at our house. So it put us in a different environment to change our thinking and, like I said,
And not go crazy.
Right. But what this caused us to do was inadvertently, we didn't even maybe we did realize it, but it caused us to look down the chessboard at other things, that we weren't stuck in this moment of despair, that we were actually moving forward and our minds were moving past what had just happened.
Right. And there's a reason for everything. You may find it out one day, we may not, but I think there was definitely a good reason as to why this move was made.
Yeah.
For many reasons, but who knows? It could have been health. It could have been family time. It could have been, there's multiple factors that could have played into it.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that gave me peace and assurance through all of this, of course, God, but secondly was exactly a year ago, we sold a house.
Correct.
That decreased our overhead. And so, a lot of people, when they lose a job, I think the immediate first panic is finances.
Yeah.
And what gave me peace of knowing we're going to be okay through this is exactly a year ago, we had no idea, but God set us down this path of clearing the way for us, preparing us. And we had no idea because we lived in this big, beautiful house that because of your job, we were able to live there.
Yeah.
And we had done all this work to it. And I know for a fact, you and I both woke up every morning and walked through that big house and said we loved it. And we were thankful for it. And neither one of us could believe we lived in this big house.
Yes.
Right? It's like you'd finally made it.
Yeah.
So we go back a year and I told you that I wanted to sell the house.
Thought she was crazy, man. I was like, you want to what?
And our goal was to keep the house after you retired for a couple of years so that you could enjoy it.
I could enjoy it.
So you could enjoy it.
Because y'all sorry people been living there enjoying the house while I was working, so I wanted some time.
And so I said it's crazy to be in this big house, just 3 of us, and pay all this overhead when we could downsize. And again, you thought I was crazy. It took you a couple of months to come along.
Yes.
To get on the train with me, and I don't think at first you were happy. Not that you weren't happy, you weren't excited.
Right.
And to move into a smaller house, which we love. Oh my gosh, we loved the new house before the job transition happened.
Oh, absolutely.
Which was another blessing. So we get into the new house, we love it, we sell our other house, everything works out as planned. This happens June 28th with losing a job. And now we knew why, because God just totally paved the way, because had we still been in the big house, we would have been in complete panic
We'd have
mode.
been in trouble.
We would have been in trouble.
So to give a little bit of the numbers, can I comment on
Please,
your podcast?
go ahead, step in.
To get a little bit of the numbers on it and how God paved the way, which I was resistant in selling the house, and it sat on the market for a year, and then right around Christmas time we sell it. But it's what, like she said earlier, we're not sure what ultimately is the result or what's the fruit that comes out of this company telling me they want to go another direction. I know for a fact they put years on the end of my life by me not being there as much. Everybody that's seen me says I'm a different person. There's peace. My kids have said, when they're asked, how's your dad going? They go, I don't know, but I can tell you this, I have a dad. So those are the comments that the family's making. So anyway, but what ended up from the numbers perspective of the deal, what ended up happening when we sold the house that we sold it at a perfect time, that the market was at a great place. It's held. And then we were able to take some of that equity out of that house and put it down on this house. So ultimately what it ended up happening was our overhead bills are half of what they were in 2024, 2023, and our bills are half of what they were then, and we owe the world a third of what we owed the world in 2023. So, but we had no idea that he was out ahead of us paving the road for when we got to this point. Obviously, he knew that on June 28th that was going to happen way before I did. So I feel like he was leveling out the ground before we ever got to that part to control the things he could control. He could not control the fact that the company decided after 34 years that they were going another direction, but he could help us in other things. I say often, anyway, it was just a big aha moment.
All because we felt a nudge.
Yeah, and we were obedient.
And we had no idea why. We just did it. But let me ask you this. If I nudge you about taking out the trash, or if I nudge you about have you called so-and-so, or if I nudge you about something you're supposed to do, is that a different nudge?
Well, normally when you nudge me, the first thing I say is, Amber, thank you so much for sharing with me. And I'm trying to tell my peeps, man, what's up, man? And I say, thank you for your help. That was so nice. Thank you, Amber. And yes, I will go take out the trash. Isn't that what I say?
No.
I have caught myself, though, like, it maybe a lot of you guys will say this that are married, but like if I'm driving in the car and she goes, turn right there, I'm like, oh, stop telling me. I know where I'm going. But if like one of my friends or one of my kids are in the car, this is a true story. If one of my friends or one of my kids are in the car and they go, turn right here, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So there is, yes. Back to your podcast.
So a nudge from someone else is totally different than a nudge from me.
Yes, I would say that's the truth.
Okay. Well, I'm thankful you followed along with the nudge that I felt to sell the house.
Yeah, you felt it before. And I think it was pride that was keeping me from, I knew it was the right thing, but pride was keeping me from getting to where you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just took you probably 2 months to catch up.
Yeah, but due to pride. Not that I never thought it was not a good idea. I just want to, that's important that I say that pride can jack you up.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, moving on. Let me take my show back over. Okay, so other than finances, what were your major worries when you were let go?
Finances, the making sure that not just finances, making sure that I could sustain the quality of life for my family as I had prior to that. You know, and I'll just be totally real. I didn't know she was going to ask me these things, but when it first happened, I was so consumed because I was Brad with, you know, this company that I work for. I wasn't Brad Woessner. I was Brad with this company I work for. So in my head, it was my identity and it was who I was. And so when this happened, I just felt like, you know, another rug was pulled out from underneath.
Part of your identity.
Yeah. It pulled another rug out that I'm no longer that Brad. But everybody said that that's not going to matter, and I didn't believe them at the time. But I do now, and it has been it's taken some work on it, but it has been something that has helped me to recenter myself and my priorities.
Okay, so because you're a man of structure, you have your structure in the morning when you get up, your routine. You have it during the day, before bed. You are a very structured person.
Correct.
And if a hiccup gets thrown into that plan,
I'm amazing. I'm so level-headed, and I just calmly just go right. No, dude, I'll lose it.
No.
And I say this all the time.
And it could be the smallest, silliest thing.
Okay, you don't have to tell people that much. No, but I tell people all the time, like, I could have lines of people in my desk with issues, and I'm just knocking them out, right? And they're bringing me problems. But like, let me go to the ATM machine and it says insufficient funds. I'm just like, for my personal life. So yes, I would say you might be correct in my personal life that I don't probably adjust as well. Yes.
So would you say after going through something as big as that was, that now you realize you could be more of a go with the flow person, or that you handle things differently when they don't go as planned?
I haven't
Like
really
it
reflected
shook you
on
up?
that, but it definitely puts things in perspective. Definitely, like, when
Is this a big problem or a small problem?
yeah, when somebody tells you they're going another direction after 34 years, that when you've done nothing wrong, that when other things hit you, then yeah, it's just like being homeless. When those big things hit you like that, it puts everything else into perspective.
So one of the things you've run into during this, if you've talked to other guys in your age group that have had a hard time looking for jobs, finding jobs, or this has happened and they don't know what they're going to do, what advice have you given them?
I was really surprised because I had been clocking in and out. There's two things I was surprised. I was surprised at the amount of people when I told them my story, which that was one of the things God said when this whole deal went south with the company I was working for. He said, you got to get home and you got to go tell people, which that's hard to, start calling people and go, hey, I got fired. Hey, I got fired. Hey, I got fired. But it was what I had to do because that's how I got the word out for people to help me. So that's the first thing is to tell more people, get more people in on it. And then what I tell those people, I just go into every situation, whatever situation it is. One, it will be okay. You'll be surprised at how you'll be able to do things. You'll be surprised. A lot of the things you worry about by the time you get to that spot are either already taken care of or you have the knowledge to overcome those things. And then it all depends on what situation that they're in. That is whatever advice I give them, depending on how long they've been out of job, how long they're looking, So the advice gives different. But what was it you were specifically looking for? Because you've heard me on the phone. But I was shocked at the amount of people when I told this story, this whole horrific thing that happened in my life. They're like, yeah, bro, it happened to me twice. Or they would say,
it made it shrink.
oh, yeah. They were like, wait, you were with a privately owned company for you made it with a privately owned company for 34 years. You need to give yourself an attaboy because privately owned companies have a tendency of going a different direction very often. So they were like, I can't believe you made it 34 years. So.
Okay, well, good. Okay, what is something important that you've realized during the last 7 months?
Faith. And one thing I still get anxious, but what I keep telling myself is I'm in this situation. I didn't put myself in this situation, and I'm gonna make as much out of this situation as I possibly can. Let me just put it to you another way. I don't want to stress out for 6 or 7 or 8 months because I don't have a job, and get to the end, and He's gonna provide me with my dream job, and I look back and go, wow, I just wasted 8 months of my life worrying. And
like through the holidays, we got to Christmas.
Yeah.
And what I tell you, I want you 2 weeks off, no stressing, no worrying, nothing, because you've worked since you were a kid.
Giving myself a little grace. Like we were having a nephew's birthday party at the house this summer, and I kind of felt guilty because I was sitting there enjoying my family, and I never heard an audible word from God, but I worked 47 years of summers, and you work extra in the summer so you make enough money to carry you, until the Christmas break or the next summer. And so I was like, hey, He has me here, and instead of asking Him, why am I here, why am I here, I'm in this situation. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. This is what I've kind of come. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Now I've got to look for who is speaking that I need to hear or who needs to hear me speak. Instead of worrying, I look for opportunities.
And you're focusing on others and not yourself.
Yeah. And the family, even when they come to the house, I notice there's a complete difference that, when they come to the house, I'd either be in the back on the phone or emailing or something, and now I catch myself, I'm sitting at the counter with them, actually having a conversation with them.
No, you've been doing that. That's okay. So now that you've come out of this unscathed, you couldn't have said that in the beginning, but now that you've got to the other side of this, what can you say that you've enjoyed the most? Enjoyed, not worried about. What have you enjoyed?
I would definitely say it's the family. It's the family. I've actually enjoyed the time off that I've been able to recharge. I tell people all the time after this transition happened, I went back to the doctor and I was like, hey, I just feel lethargic, blah, blah. She's like, well, your blood pressure's too low. She goes, I go, well, she changed my blood pressure. I cut back on my anxiety medicine, all because I didn't have all that on me. So I would say quality time and getting to spend time with people. Is that what you were looking for? What else?
Yes, no.
If there's any of those other
no.
ones, throw them out there because you're the one watching this deal. I'm one living it. So
no, I would say that. I would say that after everything that we've been through and living a certain way for us for 14, 15 years together, for it to be changed suddenly the way it was, my friend said it was done with grace. Now, behind closed doors, it may not be graceful at our house all the time. No,
it's
really,
hard.
No,
it's hard.
It's hard, but I guess I didn't realize to everyone else we made it look graceful. And, you think going through this too, a lot of people will call and check on you. And people have. We're not going to discount that. But also, I thought about it last night because we've displayed such grace. And I'm not giving ourselves a credit. This is what my friend had told me. Because we've displayed such grace and gracefulness through this, I think we've made it look easy.
Yeah. Yeah, but part of it too is we have a faith and a belief, and we have each other. But people. But and two, there's one thing to stand there and preach a sermon to somebody and tell them how they, as throughout our both, you do it as much as I do it. You try to help people in life, and help people through these situations. In my past, I would try to help friends through these situations, and now I'm in that situation, and it's like either I'm going to run the playbook like I've been telling other people to run the playbook, or I'm going to freak out, and I chose to run the playbook.
Or our other analogy was eat your own words.
Yeah.
Because for the last however many years, you've been really good at motivating others and dishing out, feeding people these words. But once they start being fed to you, do they taste good?
Let me tell you the real deal. Here's the real deal, guys. So when I would start to freak out, she would start pulling these quotes out. Like, she would go, now, didn't you tell everybody that they were sent to earth with every tool they need to achieve what they were sent here for? And I was like, oh, I don't want to hear my own sermon. Like she said, the sermon tastes a lot better going out than it does being spoken to you. So, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so someone gets blindsided by something major, like you did. Loss of a job, loss of a family member, anything. What advice would you give them after you going through this, pivoting through the storm?
Let me tell you what people, like when I started calling people like God told me to, and many of them would go, you're going to find out that this is not as big a deal as you feel like it is right now, and you're going to find out that this prestige position or all this and that isn't going to be, you're going to find out that you can have a very good quality of life and not have this particular position. And in the beginning, I was like, shut up, I don't want to hear it, y'all don't know what you're talking about. But as I look back on the advice the first people gave me, they were right, that they're, am I happy that it happened? No, but is there life after these things? Yes. And, I've said that before on podcasts. It's not great card players don't get all the great cards. Great card players get crappy cards and still win. And so I was dealt a handful of crap cards, and we're still winning, in my opinion.
Remain optimistic. Don't let your job define who you are.
Yeah.
Have faith.
Faith.
Pray. That's number one. That's what got us through, to handle it gracefully.
Yeah.
Like we have. But every day's a challenge.
Yeah.
Every day's a new day.
Like you said, I am a structured person, so the part that gets me is the unknown. So I still don't know a lot, but I look back, and obviously I got blindsided. So I'm in this position thinking I know everything that's happening, everything that's going to happen. Like I am just controlling everything. And then I find out later I ain't controlling crap. And I'm still not controlling crap. But the only thing I can do is do today to the absolute best of my ability. And if I call it getting out on my skis, if I lean out too far on my skis and start worrying about what does April look like and May look like and June look like, then I become overwhelmed and I got to bring it back.
Okay. So sometimes we'll get a phone call and someone last minute will say, hey, come out, meet with us. And we're like, oh, that wasn't part of our plan. I don't feel like going. But if we do, we get home and what do we say?
That was the best time we ever had.
I'm so glad we went.
We need to get in touch with them more. And it's sometimes you get excited about going someplace and you get back and you're like, that wasn't that great. But the majority of the time on those ones we're not that excited about, we come back and go, wow, that was a blessing. And I'm sure glad they put me there. Or somebody speaks something into our lives as a marriage, or we get an opportunity to speak to somebody else and we leave there gratified.
And those are the unexpected plans.
Yeah.
And so I look at what God does. And sometimes the unexpected plans, the detours, end up happening for the best of reasons.
Like we saw in that show, don't avoid the mess because the good stuff is in the mess.
Right. And it's what you choose to do with it.
Yeah.
So handle it gracefully. Have we done that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. But we've tried to make the best of a bad situation that really, I think we could look back now and I don't think it's a bad situation.
No.
It's been a true blessing.
Yeah.
Can't you say that?
Yeah. If when you say we handled it gracefully, you and I probably put more pressure on ourselves than anybody else does. But if you ask our kids or our friends, have we handled it gracefully? They'd be like, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like they're literally walking up to us.
I think our kids would say, wait, I forgot you're going through that.
Yeah.
Because it's so...
Your mom said it the other day.
They forget.
She
They're like,
called you
yeah.
out of nowhere and said, how's Brad doing? I forgot he's going through this transition.
Yeah. Or we say, pray for an interview. Oh, I forgot. It's like, oh, yeah, Brad doesn't have a job.
Okay.
Which is, I guess we've been pretty graceful if that's their reaction. So any last words you'd like to leave my podcast with today, my viewers?
No, not really. Not really. That would be the biggest thing is I call it stacking. And you got to really watch because you really can only process so much at one time. And if you find yourself becoming anxious, all I can tell you is pull some things off. You know, the most successful people that I've ever been around actually are not multitaskers. The most successful people take on one task, complete it, move to the next one, take on one task, complete it. I could tell you stories after story after story where I have not done that, lost my keys, lost my wallet, whatever it is. But that would be my biggest advice to myself is, focus on what's in front of you. What can you do today? What can you do to enhance your life? What can you do to enhance somebody else's life today? Because you'll look up, like let's just say we're doing this podcast on a Thursday. This week has just flown by. And if you don't, you look up, and it's already the end of January when we're doing this podcast. It was just Christmas. And now it's the end of January. And if you don't live every day and you don't laugh every day and you don't get some enjoyment out of every day, you get to the end and
what was it all for?
Yeah, what was it all for? Yeah, absolutely. You wrap this thing up. It's your podcast.
I would just like to thank you for coming on my show today. You're an inspiration to others. And we hear you may have a book coming out in the near future. So
yes, I'm working on a book. I'm doing these amazing podcasts with our great friend Cash, doing some stuff on social media, doing interviews, job interviews, consulting jobs. It's like wherever the opportunity is, I will say, obviously, if you said, Brad, if you could rewind the clock back to June 28th and you could make it not happen, I would probably say, yeah, I'd rather it did not happen. But I will say, after clocking in and out of a one job, working for one, getting to the other side of this deal, if you really get resourceful and you really get creative and you really let your mind race, there's a lot of people making a lot of money doing things they enjoy doing. And so that's what you keep praying for me and reminding me. It's not about finding a job, or it's not about doing a specific task. Try to find something that's your dream job, or try to find something you really enjoy doing. And that was not the case. I get fulfillment out of helping other people and lifting other people up and seeing other people succeed. And I was not able to experience that towards the end of my career, because that wasn't what I was doing. So
I could see that.
Yeah. Guys, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being here, Brad.
I can tell you I ain't never been so nervous for a podcast in my life. I hate going into situations I don't know, but I've actually enjoyed it. Thank you very much for allowing me to come on your podcast. If you want to see more, like I said, go to YouTube. Please subscribe to YouTube. Go to
Be Real with Brad.
Well, you stopped me earlier like I'd done it wrong. So it's Be Real with Brad. Go on there, click appointment. Hey, look here. Most of you guys know, too. You have ways to get my email. You have ways to get in contact with me. I there was a period of my life where I experienced the absolute absence of hope. If there's anything I can do, please let me know. Please get in contact with me. And I'd like to thank my host again for allowing me to come on her podcast. It was a great podcast, Amber. Great job.
Thank you, Brad.